Hello, I'm Dr. Manita Newa, and I'm a 31-year-old medical doctor. I work in Kathmandu. I've been born and raised in Kathmandu. And regarding my activism and work, I'm an ace activist. I started the page Nepali Asexuals, which has now turned into a community and a group rather than just a page. Actually, initially the page was made only as an attempt to reach out to people. I felt like I might have been the only person, ace person in Nepal. So it might sound funny and childish, but at that point of time, I felt like I couldn't find aces in my community that I could relate to with the cultural relatability. There were a lot of aces worldwide and even in South Asian diaspora, but specifically Nepali aces were not there there in like internet. So the page on the Instagram was like just me reaching out to people and me posting about asexuality, giving information for 2 months straight without anything in return. So it was just that. Then later on, it just became a group, a safe space where more aces from Nepal all over started messaging, and we formed a group, a chat group where we talk about things. And it's a community now. It's not just a page, but it's a group. That question is a little bit tricky because I don't know how to answer it properly. What does being asexual mean? To me personally, I could ask you the same question. I mean, like, what does being straight mean to you? Or like, what does being bi mean to you? So there's no other experience that I've lived. So it's not a part of my experience, but it's the whole of me. So that it's indispensable to who I am. And I have not known any other experience than that. So it's a little bit tricky. But being ace, if I have to say, is a very confusing space because it's the most invisible orientations out there. So you just don't know that it's okay to be how you are. So you keep on living the life thinking that you're out of place, or like you don't relate to people, or people don't relate to you. And it often ends up being in a situation where people tend to think that they're the odd one out, instead of feeling that the world is not like accepting them, but not knowing that they have a choice. So it's an alienating experience, to be short. So people might not understand what asexuality means, and it's comparatively a newer term, especially Nepalima ayaunikta bhanincha asexualityलाई, and people might not know it because it's not out there in public, so we don't hear about it often. But ayaunikta or asexuality actually means a lack of or little sexual attraction towards people, regardless of gender. And it's a legit sexual orientation. It's not a choice. It's not a hormone imbalance or trauma response or things that might pop up in your head the first time you hear about it. But it's a sexual orientation where you don't genuinely feel attracted to people. That's about asexuality. But asexual spectrum is very diverse. There's no one way of being asexual. So gray sexuality, demisexuality, among others, are part of the spectrum, and it does require some learning and looking into it. It cannot be summed into one single sentence. So the first time I found out the term asexuality along with panromanticism, it was about 2.5 years back or 2 years back. I was watching this YouTube video about vintage clothing, and it popped up because it was a video made during the Ace Week, which is a week in October where activists around the world talk about asexuality and express. So that video about asexuality ended up coming to my feed, and it just clicked. It wasn't like a revelation to me because I've always known about myself, how I felt and who I am. So it wasn't confusing for me, but knowing that the term existed and that was even a choice I could pick, that was what was the experience. That was when I learned the term asexuality. So asexuality, like many other orientations, are misrepresented and misunderstood. Aces are more misunderstood because there is not enough awareness about asexuality. So regarding stigma, I can fairly say that I haven't faced much stigma in society. In my personal opinion, my privileges apart, but it might also be because people don't know it enough to be prejudiced towards it. So that is like the lowest form of prejudice, I guess, because people can't behave rudely to you doesn't mean that they care for you or they want you to prosper. They don't know about you, so you don't feel safe to be yourself, or like your asexuality isn't even on the page, so like you don't get stigmatized, but that doesn't mean you're privileged. It just means that you're not accepted for who you are. So that is it. In media, mostly aces are shown as people who are celibate, who choose to not have sexual relationship with people. But asexuality is more about the attraction rather than the action. So aces can be sex favorable or sex averse. It's upon personal behavior, but that's not what asexuality is about. Asexuality is more about the attraction you feel rather than how you perform or what actions you take regarding that attraction or lack of. The stigma I see mostly in our society without the term is that when aces in our society come out to people close to them, they end up getting this reaction, like everyone is like, maybe you haven't found the right person yet, or maybe everyone is asexual before marriage, or things like that. So growing up in an Asian Desi culture where sex is a taboo and sex negativity is respected, even revered, so being brahmachari or celibate is seen as what asexuality is. I'd like to go detour, and I'd like to say that not just the general public, but even queer people, queer activists in general, also have this misconception that asexuality means celibacy or brahmachari. They have this misconception, and we've tried to address it, and it's a very difficult thing to explain because that notion is stuck with them, so they are not getting rid of it easily enough. But that's what advocacy is about, I guess, like explaining to people what it is and what it isn't, and how it impacts our life and what should be done now. Yes, so there's this theory, and types of attraction are so limited in our society. When we talk about love or attraction, all people think about is romance and sex. So it's innately existing simultaneously for most people. So people assume and think that love and sex go hand in hand, or love and romance go hand in hand. But to be honest, love is something different, and sex and romance can be parts of it, but not necessarily not for all people. So there are other types of attraction, like aesthetic attraction or sensual attraction or platonic attraction, which are different attraction that might or might not coincide with your romantic or sexual attraction. So aromantics and asexuals have to explain our lives and our experience in these terms so that it's comprehensible for people who do not understand or experience the ace life. So yeah, so sexual attraction is one way, romantic attraction is another, among so many other types of attraction which might coincide for most people, but they do not for aromantics and asexuals. For those of you who would like to be educated about asexuals, not getting it from sources that might not be accurate. So TV representation, book representation might be accurate in some places and might not be in some places. You wouldn't know. So I guess the correct way of learning about it would be either from our page Nepali Asexuals on Instagram and YouTube Nepali Asexuals. We are planning on opening up this website, which might be maybe probably in the Ace week, but I hope it is done till then. I hope so. But other than that, the AVEN, 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 that is the official online worldwide, where you can read resources about asexuality which are accurate and look at discourses available, because it's been there since the genesis of all of it. So I guess you can look up Nepali Asexuals and AVEN. I guess about growth regarding ace activism in Nepal, I might not be the best person to talk about because I was the one who started it. So I can't tell you where it's reached, but you can ask other people if you want to. But from my own side, when I see before 1.5 years, before when I started Nepali Asexuals, there was no platform for Nepali aces virtually or even physically to reach out to people who would relate to their lived experiences. We are human beings and we are social creatures, and no matter how much we say, we do crave connection and intimacy. And I guess that's the best part of being human, I guess. So not getting that while growing up and figuring out our sexuality and our individuality, that can be very alienating. And most of aces have that experience to the point that all of us feel like we don't belong in our spaces, all of us feel like we're broken, things like that, which is not true, but that is how we're made to feel when we grow up because people can't relate to us. So Nepali Asexuals has been there for people to reach out. I know Instagram is a very privileged space and not all people have access to it, but it's a start, I guess. That was the platform I was most comfortable with. Plus, being anonymous for 2 months when I started out and later on finding it safe enough to be vocal and open, it has been a long journey for me. And it's a very, very long road in Nepal to normalize asexuality, reaching villages and houses everywhere, reaching all of the aces everywhere. Millions of aces are there in the world, but we ourselves don't know that the term exists. So we're suppressed and like in a form that because of invisibility, rather than direct discrimination. So I guess the page has given that space and that platform for people to reach out, not just to know more about asexuality regarding attraction models or like types of asexuality or even like myths about asexuality. Those are theoretical parts, if I may. So practically Nepali Ace Space is a chat group or a community now that exists for people to reach out, even if they have even slightest of doubt that they might be on the ace spectrum. So you don't have to label yourselves, feelings over labels always. If you even feel like you might be ace and you question it, that page is open for you. That chat room is open for you. Come in. All of us are like out there for you to listen and guide you and like just be there for you towards your journey, towards yourself. We're not there to teach you, preach you, or things like that. We'll just be there to listen and like help you. You might come out like say like I'm not ace, I'm not aromantic. Doesn't matter. Just be there. That's the only purpose I opened that page for. And I guess that is something I'm already hitting. So that's the growth I wanted. That's it. Yeah, organizations and campaigns that give space to aces to speak their truth instead of like being tokenized or like used for purposes like that help in advocacy and awareness, because ace activism in Nepal is like taking its baby steps. People don't know about asexuality, so campaigns like this can help us a lot because there is more reach. So even getting the word asexuality and ayaunikta in general public is a plus, I guess. So that is where we start. And that is where the graph goes up. So that's the importance of it, I guess. So a better future for aces around the utopia, in my experience, would be not having to explain about asexuality, about not having to explain and give this 10-minute presentation after coming out to your close people that like, no, I haven't, it's not that I haven't met the right person yet. No, it's not that I'm like, this is not trauma response, or no, there's nothing wrong with me. That is not something that exists in that future. So a metanormativity is a concept in which it's assumed in the society that a single, solitary, monogamous, romantic and sexual partnership called marriage is the ultimate goal and happiness of the humankind. So breaking the boundary of ametonormativity, just like cis heteronormativity, is the ultimate goal, I guess. Not having to explain to people why you're not cis, or like not explaining people why you're not het, not explaining to people why your sexual and romantic orientations don't align, and telling them, instead of it being forced onto you, assuming people, if you're a girl, oh, you must be in love with a guy, and by love you mean you must have sexual and romantic attraction, right? So breaking that notion as the default is the future utopia, I guess. Oh, I don't know. Like, purple is something all of its aces have gravitated towards. It wasn't a theme, but like in general, worldwide. So when the flag was made, or like when things in general were discussed, it was just found that aces have like this fixation with the color purple, and I guess it makes us feel home and happy. It's my personal experience, and I'm sure most aces would agree. So purple is something that just feels like home, to the point that subconsciously also we gravitate towards anything purple. So yeah, I would like to thank all of you people who are there open to learn more about experiences that are different than yours. And I am thankful that you would want to learn more about asexuality, because in this world right now, it feels like no one owes anyone anything, to the point that people would question you, why do you think we should learn about your terms, or why do you think we should learn about your orientation, or why it is different. But it's not about going the extra mile. Our existence is not up for debate, you know. It's not for you to acknowledge or not. We exist nonetheless. We are ourselves nonetheless. You understand or not is beyond it, but it's hard time you understood it, because we are part of a society. Millions of us are here, and we're not going anywhere anytime soon, so just might as well learn about it.
Thank you.
Plus, I want to add something more. I want to send my love to all of the aces and aromantics out there, Nepali and worldwide, and like just say that, like, love. And so how does it, so tell me more about your experience. What does being asexual mean to you?
And
I was like, and then I can say like, I don't know how to answer it properly, but what does being straight mean to you? Or what does being bi mean to someone?
Thank you. Yeah, I think we're done.
Oh, is it okay? It's okay, right?
It was so freaking good.
Oh no, it's okay, right? So it was like
it was like on the spot, like